You're listening to Marketing Impressions, brought to you by M. Roberts Digital. We are data-driven marketing experts who develop, deliver, and optimize business growth campaigns. In this podcast, you can expect to expand your knowledge in the big wide world of marketing and hear real-life marketing examples. I'm your host, Jordan Sherrod, and I'm thrilled to make marketing matter for you today. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Marketing Impressions. That's Marketing Impressions with an M because we are M. Roberts Digital. So today we're going to talk about websites, web development. And the term web development, it can sound super, scary or techie or geeky, stuff like that. But a website is really uber, ultra, super important because it represents your presence as a business online. It's equivalent to the brick and mortar building in real life. Think of that online. It's your digital storefront. A website also has always been kind of a way of legitimizing you as a business, especially in the 21st century. It's your digital face to the world. It extends your reach too from beyond just your physical location to really anywhere in the world. So where do we go from there? What does that mean? Like an actual physical store, people visit your website through, to browse through for services, for products, to make purchases, to learn more information. So today we're going to really dive into just talking about websites, what makes for a great website, what are some ways you can do to improve yours, to build yours. And today I'm excited. I'm here with longtime web developer, Joe Jackson. Joe, so great to have you here, man.
Right on, right on. Good to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
So, tell us a little bit about just a little bit about your history. I know you've worked on a lot of sites through the years, and just a little glimpse into who Joe is.
Absolutely. So Joe is what you would call a full stack developer,
Okay.
or a jack of all trades, if you will. Someone who I've had the opportunity when I started out, in high school, I pretty much was in the design side of things.
Yeah.
But it seems like a lot of people were like, I like the way it looks, but does it work?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
how does it work? Does my calendar actually reserve something? Can I contact you? So I kind of then from there jumped over into development, and that alone was night and day, like just the life and blood of actually making things function and work.
Yeah. That's fun, man. Okay. Well, as we're starting our conversation here, let's start off just talking about the past couple of years. I mean, it's 2022 right now, but obviously the pandemic has been huge and it's rocked our world and the business world and the marketing world in a huge way. How do you think COVID affected businesses in regards to web development and websites in general?
Oh man, I think COVID woke a lot of business owners up
Yeah.
one of two ways. Um, Especially locally and dealing with, like, for example, restaurants per se, because I think those are kind of restaurants and entertainment seem to have been hit the most with COVID.
Yeah.
Uh, it seemed like a lot of restaurants, as you're empty and you don't have any more guests there, then your other option, as a lot of them caught wind to kind of delivery services,
Yeah.
was, wait, how do they get a hold of my menu? How do they contact us?
Yeah.
If
How
I
do they
have
post
a
that
hundred,
order? Yeah.
exactly. If you have 100 people calling you, how are you going to take all 100 orders?
Yeah.
What's the limitation behind that? What type of system do you have running to
Right.
make such a business efficient like that?
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of restaurants seem to have, been at half capacity, essentially about 50, 75 guests max,
Yeah.
on any given hour or two. So I think COVID, they saw numbers that kind of multiplied that. If you were online, if you were able to offer some type of commerce or ability for people to purchase your product or food
Mhm.
online, then at the end of the day, you started to see great numbers. You started to see that you didn't need 75 seats, 75 chairs. You just needed to be able to submit 75 orders and for your staff in the back to actually process that, to efficiently process that.
Right.
So business owners, one of two ways, saw either A, the importance of actually needing an online presence so that they can start to take orders. And that's where DoorDash and other kind of services even came in to try to offset that and help.
Right.
Or business owners that had some type of presence but didn't really treat it, they're like, they seem to start to get that bottleneck I was discussing, where they're like, man, now we have too many orders. I had to turn off my payment system, or I had to divert people to go here and stuff like that. So COVID definitely started to increase, sales online. We all sat back at home,
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Absolutely. And even I think it made business owners realize, even not just sales, but even just what do I even look like online? Like a lot of them went online and were like, my website hasn't been updated in 50 years. Like, what is going on? And I know for us, like last year we did over one website every day. Like it was 380 or something like that websites. And it just goes to show you, like, people are really thinking about, websites. So I want everyone listening to consider this. 55% of people will search online for reviews and recommendations before making a purchase. And then with 47% visiting the company website before making a decision or purchase. And then 26% check out at the physical store. 23% of people talk with friends and families. So I say all that to say, I mean, websites are vital for the success of any business or organization. So if it is vital like that, if it is important, let's talk about what makes it great.
I think it starts with a website that actually genuinely serves its purpose.
Okay.
So I think first off, trying to, getting the business owner or the business to kind of identify what would the purpose of that website be. And so maybe gaining an understanding of that, is this an online brochure, aka some type of landing page or advertisement, in a sense of, we just want people to be aware of us.
As a business owner, you need to decide, what is the end goal of this website? When somebody comes on this website, what do I want them to immediately see or do, right? Because it's true, like you're thinking about, when if a client can't figure out what you provide in the first 5 seconds that they're there, they're going to leave. If they don't see, refill my prescriptions or shop products or whatever it is, people are really have very little patience these days. That's just the way we are. But
short attention span.
Yes, absolutely. But I think you're right as making a website customer centric, where you are clearly stating what you are able to offer to the client, right? Where it's not so much. A lot of times people want to just put their about us, all over the front page and do a whole history of, we've been here for 60 years and here's where grandma got the idea from it. Honestly, people don't care. People don't care. I mean, what they want is, what can you give me? That's what people want when they go to your website. And so what are you going to offer them, right?
Exactly.
So I'd say just make your customer the hero, make your website a place where you can serve them, quickly and accurately and efficiently, It's
funny you mentioned that customer-centric way in that way too, making them a hero, because when you start seeing some of the more successful sites out there, those that turn high conversions, they do just that. They relate with the customer, kind of point out, here are some of the problems you may be facing.
Yes.
And then they kind of slide themselves in, and they're saying, and here's how we can solve that. Here's how we're your problem solvers.
That's right.
After becoming your best friend,
right.
Here's how we're.
That's right. That's good. Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. I think another big component of a great website is just a clear call to action. 70% of small business websites lack a call to action at all on the website. So, Joe, what are some examples? What is a call to action? What do I mean when I'm talking about that?
Well, a call to action would be something like a contact me,
Okay.
you know, and a more specifically integrated call to action would be a phone number to where if you click that on your phone, it actually takes you to the phone dialer to actually dial the phone number. You know, a lot of business owners don't have that and don't necessarily need the technical sense, but don't have that technical understanding that that requires programming.
Right.
You know what I mean? The website needs to recognize what device are you on. And even nowadays with obviously things like Google Meets and even FaceTime, you can use your computer to call. So having a call to action such as a phone number or an email connected to a button that says order now, contact us today, get your free consultation, you know, some type of thing that entices the end user to act upon it.
Yeah, that's right. You are calling them to action. You're providing them. You're essentially providing them with the next step. They got to your website. You're showing them, great. If you want to interact with us, if you want our service, here's the next thing that you do. You know, people need to be guided down that process. Another way I look at it, in marketing in general, but even with websites, a lot of times people want to immediately put the end call to action there. Like for instance, if you are, let's just say, selling a book, right? If you're selling a book and, you know, someone goes to your website and the only button at the top, like at the very top, is just buy now. Well, people probably aren't going to do that, especially if it's the first time that you're there. What you need to also do is provide another button of like, you know, learn more or I don't know, get a summary or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the deal. You got to think of people coming to your website as relationships. And what you want to do is you don't want to ask them to marry you before you've even dated them, right? Yeah. You want to go on several dates with them. You want them to get to know you and you know them before you pop the question, right? And so it's the same way with your websites. Is you gotta provide a couple options. You know, they may come back and you may have been in a relationship with them for a long time where asking them the question at the top is great. But you also got to provide an opportunity for people to engage with you who are just starting to date you, right? Like, you know, let's learn more. Let's, you know, here's our 5 steps or for whatever, you know, that sort of thing. So when you're thinking about calls to action, think about those 2 different audiences. Is you want to think about your new audiences and then your recurring, and the language you use for both of those is going to be different in your calls to action.
And that's a point from previous about, you know, what makes a website great in that sense. Some type of integration, if you have a type of customer relationship system, some type of CRM, in other words, like, you know, Salesforce or something out there, what can make your website greater would be that integration of that call to action to such a system. So, you know, if you have your repeat users, you can utilize, like if I revisit a website for some shoes, you can have some type of detection to say, hey, you know, welcome back. Here's some new shoes that you didn't check out that are related to the shoes you liked previously.
Right.
You know, basically enticing me to want to start clicking through and navigating those shoes and possibly purchasing them.
Yeah.
At the same time, you can have that integration where if I'm a first-time user and you have no idea what I even like, whatever campaign you may be running at that time, you can essentially entice me to click and go through and maybe provide some basic information about the shoes, which then integrates into your Salesforce and you're further able to contact me later about different shoes via email or some type of channel, a different channel. So.
And like you said, that goes back into that relationship piece where you're building these relationships with real people. You know, it's not. There are people that really want to learn more, and the more that they know about you and you know them, the more that you can ask them, hey, will you buy this or would you buy that or that sort of thing. Yeah, that's good. So I think those two things are the most important. I think visually, so let's talk about visually appealing, because a lot of times with websites, that's the first thing people think of is my website pretty? And that is important. The most important thing is your language and what you're providing for them. But also, in our modern age, if I go to a website and it looks like it's full on 2000s, I'm like, nah, bro, I'm gone. Like, see ya. Yeah. There was this website, and this was formed. This research was done several years ago, but I think we've only gotten faster. But the research says this. There were 3 different studies, and it says you have 50 milliseconds to make an impression on your website users. Like, users have 50 milliseconds before they form an opinion about your website that determines whether or not they like your site or not, and then that determines whether or not they're going to leave or not. So there is something about immediately when they get there, how is it laid out? What's the words that are there? Those things do have an important play in what you're doing.
That leads me to a lot of stories where business owners who may have that understanding and good agreement want to kind of add their own input at times to certain designs, like, oh, change that button to blue because I like the way that looks.
Yeah.
Well, some of the difficult things in understanding, visually is it may look visually appealing to you, but does it look visually appealing to your customer? Like,
right.
Are you buying your product for yourself? Is that why you made your website, or did you make it for your customer to need to buy? And there's a science to it. There's a science to why certain headlines are the size that they are and placed where they are, because at this point in time, it's almost public knowledge on heat maps or certain hot areas within the screen that we immediately look at and where we expect the navigation to be.
That's absolutely
where we expect the animation of a video to come out or pop out.
Yeah.
So you're not even trying to shock and awe the customer anymore. You're utilizing this science to deliver the message you're trying to deliver directly.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting, you mentioned the color of the button. There are literally studies about how different colors affect different people. And the just FYI, this is free out there. The color that gets the most reaction and engagements on websites is yellow. Like a bright kind of yellowish color gets the most engagement and reaction with people. If it doesn't work with your color scheme, don't force it. I'm not saying turn all your buttons yellow right now, but if it works and it goes along with your color scheme, hey, that might be something to consider. So anyway,
that's cool information.
Yeah.
Orange or blue.
Yeah. A few other tips I would just say as far as the visually appealing thing goes is using a key video. People really will spend time, at least I will, watching a video more than they read a lot of times. And so having that option is good. When you show pics, I always say if you can show real people, real customers as much as possible, like go for it, do it. And I would say avoid stock photos. If you don't have that luxury, that's fine. But again, it goes back to this relationship thing. People want to see, okay, you're real, you're an actual place. I trust you, right? And so that's why I make that recommendation.
At this point in time, with technology being as evolved as it is with humans, we are now more adept to kind of detect a stock photo of a website. You know what I mean? And so at this point in time, we pretty much overlook that naturally. A lot of studies have shown. And we pretty much get to the meat and potatoes of why we're on that website. Yeah. It kind of goes back to the 50 milliseconds. Yeah. It's like, I know I'm here, I'm doing a million things at once. My attention span is literally that. Whoa, yellow button. You know what I mean? Just like that. So
yeah, that's good. The last kind of tip I'd say on visuals is your mobile format really does matter. This was 2 years ago, but the average smartphone conversion rates are up 64% compared to desktop conversion rates. And that's mainly for like sales and for products. And again, that was a couple years ago, so it's gone up more since then with COVID. But the way it looks on your phone really does matter, because that's where most people are nowadays on your website. So that's important to just check and make sure it's efficiently looking there. The last kind of section I want to cover is this. There are a lot of different options for how you build your website. So, you know, there some questions I'd ask are this. You know, should building a website be easy? I think yes, for the most part it should, unless you have a super custom thing in mind with like a special database of people and it's very custom. But should websites be owned by the people who paid for them? I think yes. I'm a full believer in that. Do many online website programs offer easy website builds without actual ownership? And the answer is yes. So what I mean by that is this. There are companies out there that help you build a easy website. Some of those companies are Wix, GoDaddy, Squarespace, Weebly, Strikingly, right? They offer easy website builds, but they have several setbacks. One of those is not full ownership of those sites. And what I mean by that is if you needed to do some very custom work or move away, you ever wanted to move away from Wix or something like that, you aren't able to do that. You aren't able to take all of that information, that coding, and then go build it somewhere else. So you're kind of locked there in those patterns. Joe, I don't know, what, in your opinion, what are some of the other setbacks or limitations with using kind of, I guess, stock website, companies like that?
At the end of the day, when you kind of analyze and realize that all of this is software, like even your own website is a piece of software, then what you're kind of doing is you're paying for a license or the ability to use software that should be yours in reality, that you're about to customize anyway. And what I mean by that, like, getting to something as simple as selling hats and shirts. Yes, I can go to Wix and start uploading all my hats and shirts, but chances are I'm going to customize the price. I'm going to customize the size and the variations. I'm not just going to upload black shirt and call it a day. And so when you start analyzing some of those very minor that start to add up to a bit better, bigger picture, units and parameters and configurations or whatever you want to call them, you start to realize you're actually customizing your own piece of software. And the amount of time, money, and even effort or energy you spent on that, although you may not feel it now because, hey, you paid Wix $25 or whatever for the entry, and they automated a lot of it, you will certainly feel it at the end of the year when your sales have gone up and you're now turning around going, oh man, we need to migrate over here because we're only selling this many of our hats or whatnot. So when it really starts getting custom, like when it comes to customization itself, I think that's where those kind of sites kind of really start to fall off. Ownership and customization are really two important things that I think business owners value. I mean, you want your own product. You want your own solution or software, and you don't want to have to rely on anybody other than maybe the bank.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's good. Some other things I think of are, so hosting with a lot of times you have to do hosting through those companies like Wix, GoDaddy, Squarespace, those sort of things. You have to host your site with them. And those larger international web servers are often prone to either blackouts or hacks, or if there's a freaking war going on where that server is and it gets blown up. I mean, like that's a possibility, you know what I'm saying? And so I always recommend like local or trusted servers that you know are going to be there and that you can actually go visit if you wanted to. It's actually really a letdown to visit servers. But that's one thing. And I think another one is impersonal interaction or support, or it's just harder to get that support. And then you talked about customization. There's a huge limitation with integration with other software and other programs that you are not able to do. Whereas you can do that on more custom site builds like WordPress with other agencies. Again, we talked about ownership, and then also your SEO is limited as far as on the back end, the things that you can actually customize to make your search engine optimization of your website the best. It's harder to do. And then you mentioned pricing, right? That's the hosting prices and the add-ons really just begin to pile up.
And the ownership thing, kind of tying that into everything you just said. For example, blackouts. Like, never mind if there's a major event going on in the country that prevents the host. That company has its own terms of service, whether we're talking legalities or not, with your own local government.
Yeah.
That company at any moment can say, and they do say that. They say at any moment they can change the terms of service and realize, you know what? We don't like the way you're operating your business. Shut down. Yeah. And you now have no access to your code, no access to your system that was earning you money at that time.
Right. That's right. And I think on the flip side, this is a bit of a shameless plug, but that's why agencies like M. Roberts Digital are a better option for larger, seemingly easy web builders. Some distinguishing features are that where you've got local hosting, unique security measures, you've got personal interaction. You'll talk with someone like me or a sales rep. You've got expansive integration with other programs, software, plugins to do what you want to do. You fully own the website, at least with our agency. If you want to go somewhere else, that's fantastic. We'll pack it all up for you and send it with you. You own that 100%. So always make sure you ask, do I own this? If I ever wanted to leave, would I be able to take it with me? Ask that before you begin a web build with a company or a different agency. And then we also offer hosting packages according to what your needs are. So those are some of the benefits. But man, Joe, before we go, just what are some key elements or features businesses should consider adding to their website? Some things that you've seen over the years that you're like, just man, every time we add this just gets fantastic results. Or I always love it when a business does this on their website. I don't know. What are some of those features that you think are really key?
Really good question. I think it takes it beyond the feature of a website with this one. And I would say, a key feature would be a business that really interacts with its audience. It understands social media and in one way or another utilizes that social media channel and avenue as a way to direct their business, either to their website, to a campaign, to a landing page, something. But an actual business that does reach out to its audience, listens, and responds in any way. Even if it's a joking, humorly one, like you see at KFC, where, not KFC, Popeyes, where you can joke about their biscuits, and Popeyes will be like, you'll be back. Even if it's a humorous one, even if it's, we don't need you kind of attitude. There are certain bars that get away with that tone, but one that reaches out to their customers and show that they care. Nowadays we can order anything at the touch of our fingers instantaneously. And so the difference between, for example, KFC and Popeyes is going to be my mood, my relationship between the two. What am I feeling? So no matter what product it is you're offering or selling or what service, at this point in time, whatever's going to pop up to my head, doctor visit, oh, my local PCP, dentist, oh yeah, my regular use dentist, someone that's reached out and shown they've cared, attorneys as well, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I think that's good. I think that is a great note to kind of end this on, of that you can have a fantastic website, but people aren't just going to get there on their own, right? You have to be driving people there. You can have a fantastic website and 0 views every month. You have to push people there through these other channels that you've been talking about. So that's a good note to end on. Well, Joe, so glad you joined us, man. This has been fantastic, a lot of fun. I know we could keep going on for hours about this, but But I'm really glad you joined us. Hey, listeners, before we go, we're going to listen to a client's opinion on websites and how it's really transformed their organization for the better. So let's roll that clip. Hey guys, so excited to be back again with Steven Settle, the Axia Center director here in Tyler, Texas. Today, we're just going to touch base real quick on websites, on your website. And I know your nonprofit, your organization that you're a part of has a couple different websites. So we'll talk about why there's multiple websites. But to you, what is the value of having a good website? Very vague question, but what's the value of it?
Oh my gosh, the value, I feel like you can hardly even measure it. I think as the world we live in, technology advances by the minute, it seems like. And so if you're not innovating, you're sliding backwards. And I think at Living Alternatives, that's kind of where we found ourselves not that long ago was, when our original website was made, it was great. Yeah. But we weren't putting in the legwork to keep it cutting edge, So whenever we really made the plunge a couple of years ago to kind of redo the whole thing, it just immediately you saw the value just by making the changes that we did. I think people are so busy nowadays, and so you don't want to. You're already busy, and then whenever you get to a website and you feel like you're fumbling around and you can't find what you're looking for, or things are lagging, or it's not cohesive, it's just not good for anybody. So I think having a streamlined process, and I think that even goes down to the details of things like design and font and color and the way that things flow together, things that maybe a person's not even cognitive of necessarily. All those things fit together for a user experience that is just, I think, produces better outcomes for whatever you're trying to do with a website. Absolutely.
So you mentioned like user interface and the flow and everything. What else, in your opinion, makes for a good website?
Well, my personal opinion, I am a detail kind of person. So like I said, I really get a lot of enjoyment out of a website when I can tell they care about the different web pages matching the same fonts, same styles, color schemes match, and things like that. To me, that provides an enjoyable, peaceful experience when I'm on a website. Whenever I go to some websites and it seems like it was just thrown together and I can't find what I'm looking for, I'm very quick to just give up on the whole venture, and move on to something else. Because like I said, you just don't have time to deal with that kind of stuff.
In some of our marketing books that I've read, it talks about how you really only have 3 to 5 seconds to immediately provide what the user is looking for. Like you want to, as soon as they hop on the page, they're there for some reason. Right. And if you're not able to provide either in the nav menu or in those buttons right there, something that's quick and right away, okay, this is going to help me accomplish my mission of why I'm on this page, then it's not worth it. Then it's not working. And they're going to go away quickly. From that. So that's, I agree with what you're saying there. So, okay, I mentioned you guys have a couple of websites. What do you guys use your websites for, and why are there a couple of them?
Yeah. So we are a nonprofit, and so there's two distinct sides to what we do. We have a client side of things, and we also have a donor side of things. Yeah. And so there's not too many times where those things naturally cross over because our communication is so different with one with the other. And, when we're talking to our donors, we're sharing stories and sharing testimonies and sharing need that we might have in the ministry. But then on the flip side with a client, we're not asking a client for money.
Right.
All of our services are free, and it's to their benefit. Yeah. And so our communication has to just be completely different. Right. And so we realized in that strategy, the way we were best going to be able to serve our client and best be able to serve our donor was to separate the two. And so we have two completely different interfaces. But one thing that I love about them is that if you're familiar with Living Alternatives at all, and you've kind of become familiar with our branding and our style and our color, any donor can go to our client page, and our client page doesn't say Living Alternatives on it anywhere, but they'll know exactly where they're at, that this is a Living Alternatives property, and that they'll understand that because we have the same fonts, we have the same color, the same schemes, all of that kind of thing. So I think those types of strategies are what set good websites apart from others. And so so it was just became really clear to us that we needed to have two separate platforms and strategies to be able to more effectively reach the audience that we were going for.
Yeah, and I like that. That's the word I was going to say. It sounds like there are different audiences. And so even for businesses, a lot of times you have a different audience, depending on what products you're selling or what services you're selling. They may be two totally different things, which may be a reason for another or a different website. And we have had, honestly, there's one client I'm thinking of in particular in Victoria, Texas, who has about 5 to 6 different websites because they specialize in very different things. They're all kind of construction and building and material related, but they're all very different audiences, and they've seen really good success by divvying it up. So sometimes there's value in it. Sometimes you keep it together. But
I think that kind of plays into the idea as well that people have they're going to a website for a specific reason in mind, and so if we can make it as easy as possible for them to find what they're looking for, then I think you're just going to have a better success rate. And so that's why we have our donors have a specific place to go, and we have our clients have a specific place to go, because our donors, they know what they're trying to do, they know what they're trying to give towards, and we want to make that as easy as possible for them. Our clients are in a crisis, and they need help right away, and we don't want them having to fumble through all this other stuff to get help. So it really cuts the red tape in that way.
Yeah, that's good. Last question. What happens, I might have a follow-up, but what happens when your website or information becomes outdated? For that user that comes there and sees that, what happens? And that's the issue, their experience.
Yeah, I feel like it's something, this whole technology side of things, you have to keep an open mind with, because it does change so fast. And just because I love our website today doesn't mean that a year from now it's not going to need updating, whether I like it or not, because it's not necessarily about what I like. It's about who we're trying to reach. And as innovation continues to move forward, I'm not keeping up with all of that necessarily, So being able to have people and a team around you who do know what they're doing and do know how to navigate all of that, I think is super important to the success of whatever you're doing. Because I know I don't have time to keep up with all of that in the midst of everything else. And so, and I don't want to find ourselves back to where we were a couple of years ago, because I've just seen so much improvement of how we're able to communicate with people with having a priority on quality website design.
I love it. Well, thank you again, Stephen, for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time. Marketing Impressions is brought to you by M. Roberts Digital. M. Roberts Digital is your local marketing company with global reach. We uniquely and proudly offer every kind of marketing imaginable for our clients' campaigns. Quite simply, we make you successful. By hitting our goals month after month, M. Roberts Digital has continued to grow year after year and achieve unprecedented success. You can learn more and start your own marketing campaign at mrobertsdigital.com.